Are you gonna write no sound? gets more constructed, I think that there's going to be more investment for the east-west metro connection on 130th, and so we'll just be keeping an eye on that. We anticipate that they would construct after us, but we don't want to do anything that would preclude Metro from providing rapid and reliable transit on the corridor. So that brings us to project schedule. Initially, this project was handed off way back in 2019 when things were moving a little smoother. It wasn't until about a year ago that we heard that we might be targeting this summer for construction because we wanted to match it up with the Ashworth signal that is definitely going in this summer. Unfortunately, we had some delays when we hit 30% design. We had hinged the project schedule based on some repaving of 130th. There's a minimum asphalt quality required to do certain upgrades. We don't put bike lanes on a street where there are giant potholes effectively. So that program, the asphalt maintenance program, was scheduled to come through in 2022 and 2023 to do those repairs. That was scheduled back in 2019. You may not know, but we had COVID, and then we had Reconnect West Seattle come through. Those were some pretty substantial budget cuts and crew capacity impacts to that program. So our current standing is that we are paused at 30% design until we have more information about the paving that might go through. There is a very slim chance, which is effectively zero, that we'd get it done this year, but we are targeting next year as the next earliest time that we can make these improvements on the corridor. And then a quick note about that long-term vision that I was talking about. SDOT's coordinating with WashDOT, King County Metro, and Sound Transit to make some pretty substantial changes to the corridor. Sounded like you'd probably heard some ideas popping out about potentially tightening up the street and expanding the north sidewalk. I've heard those ideas. I don't think any of that's been decided upon, but that project would be a much more substantial change to the corridor in general. That would go from Greenwood all the way on 130th, down Roosevelt, and then down 125th to Lake City Way. That's a multi-million-dollar re-envisioning of the entire corridor from a multimodal perspective. So not just for vehicles, but for bikes and pedestrians also. I'm here to say I'm not part of that project. I'd love to get the contact information and share it with the group after this. Unfortunately, we were not allowed to really I was not able to lock down any concrete information about that at this time. But when talking about other projects in the neighborhood, I did pass a flyer out. I unfortunately have about 5, so I will share a digital copy after this is over. But as you all know, there is a giant Aurora Avenue project ongoing right now. They are planning a community event in Holler Lake in the coming weeks, I think. So if you hadn't heard that, it's a great opportunity to get involved regarding Aurora. Additionally, there are some new sidewalks and asphalt walkways coming to North 180th or 128th Street, very close to here. Those should be happening this summer as well. So there's a pamphlet going around, but I'm more than happy to share that. That being said, that's all I really have to share on this project, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Mm-hmm.
On the 128th sidewalk, that's a project that I applied in for. So, but the Densmore east is where that link is going, right? So on.
It looked like there is I'm not 100% familiar. It looks like there's a low-cost walkway west of Densmore, and then 2 blocks of actual sidewalk east of Densmore.
And there was a flyer came out on it. I didn't know that project.
Yeah, like I said, the flyer that I received looked like it was fresh off the print, so maybe it's just not out there yet, but I'm more than happy to share it. There's a question over here. Yep.
Where will we find more information about the Aurora and the 128th project?
Both of them have contact information on the pamphlet. I believe they have a website and an email address and all sorts of other good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we have not heard anything about it. So,
well,
it's very interesting. Thank you for that.
News then.
Thank you for that.
All right, and yep.
Yes, that phone number or app or email or the paving project.
Yes, yes. There are copies of that document here today. I'll make sure that you get eyes on it.
Or if you just have somebody put it on
I'll make sure that there's contact information.
Yeah. Not a problem. All right,
I'll
well,
have a copy of the handouts you put out.
great. Well, thanks so much for having me. Always feel free to reach out. Yep.
I just wanted, you said they're gonna actually start the work next year, right?
You mean 130th.
On 130.
So the signal at Ashworth is being installed this year.
Here's my
Force
question.
majeure, but yeah.
My question is, when does the work start that's going to disrupt, being able to drive along there? And when does it end? And is it gonna be really loud and disruptive?
So it's currently not scheduled, so I don't have a concrete answer for you. We're targeting spring, summer of next year. I can tell you I lived on 125th when they did that work. It was quick, it was loud.
Quick, okay.
The paving portion of it, I'm not a pavement engineer, I don't have a great answer. But if we were just doing the scrape off the lines and repaint everything, 2 weekends, easy.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
When we're doing curb ramps at the intersections, those take a few weekends, maybe a week. But keep in mind it is a corridor approach. They won't do everything all at once. That's way too disruptive. But there will be good outreach getting closer to that.
Thanks.
They're already putting the curbs in.
In Ashworth? Yeah.
So
see.
I live on Densmore. Just north or just south of 125th. And since I've lived here, which is about 7 years, I've definitely seen increased traffic and increased large trucks coming through Densmore and the neighborhood, even SDOT trucks especially, cutting through the neighborhood, going back to the SDOT lots. What can we do about that? Is there anything we can do about that?
There is. There is a program that I'm sure you've heard of called the traffic calming or neighborhood traffic calming or the home zone group. It's something else. I know that home zones have presented in this group many times in the past. You can petition them to do some simple things like tightening the roadways, making some of them one way. There are things called chicanes, which are curbs that kind of come out into the street, and so two cars can't drive at the same time.
Or a bus lane, or a bus stop.
Yeah, so Densmore is
Yeah.
considered an arterial
Yeah,
or
it's
a
fair. It's very fair.
minor
Uh,
arterial, I think, something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would reach out to the home zone or traffic calming group for that purpose. If you have like actual complaints about specific SDOT trucks, I'm sure you can also reach out to the fleet services.
Sure.
And, yeah.
I can tell you that I shut down a street one day for a neighborhood street for a play day that we were having, a picnic that we were having along that street, and SDOT kind of, we're not happy about it. We came and we're like, where's your permit? And a couple of trucks had to turn around and go back to the arterials and go around. So, so we see them occasionally.
Unofficially let them be unhappy.
Sure.
But take your street.
Okay.
All right. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Chris.
Right, we're gonna move right along. We have Sean and Kippy. They're gonna give us a little briefing on the UW Medical Hospital business. I don't know.
All right, okay. Kippy and I are both on the design. It's the design. What's it? Design Advisory Committee for Northwest Hospital. There's quite a few, and actually the city council had to approve us to be on this thing. And I have been on the Citizens Advisory Committee for years, and it's like a once-a-year meeting. It's not a big deal, but the hospital is doing a new 20-year plan. They currently have 750,000 square feet of hospital space, and their goal in the next 20 years is to have a 1.6 million feet of hospital space. So double, more than double, a little bit more, because 750, yeah, close.
Going up? or
Well,
down?
that's the question. They probably were gonna go up a lot.
But that's going out. That's just ground square footage.
Oh, no, that's hospital square footage.
That's ground.
So where are they gonna, they can't go to the cemetery, so.
No, they'll stay within their.
They're gonna stay within their footprint.
Yeah.
And they probably are going to do it on the old buildings, the old flat buildings. And the question I had was, do they have to touch each other? Could they put a tower in that southeast corner where there's just dead people as neighbors who wouldn't complain? But it has to touch the other two, it has to touch the main hospital. So it probably doesn't work, but they may go up 12 stories.
175 feet.
So
They're asking
that's
for
the
building.
possibility. And they also have to do a central power plant. That's fairly 20,000 square feet for the power plant, I think that's what they said. And that, well, they could, you know, they sort of like it to be kind of central, they said, and that's for power, that's for water, that's for all kinds of stuff, but it's a fairly good, I brought a couple of the plans, you know, the stuff that they're handing out to us.
And you can't find this on City of Seattle website also.
Right.
We have
It has
those, we can
different
share.
proposals, and it's gonna be 20 years, so it's going to take a long time. It's based on funding, it's based on all kinds of stuff.
Do they have decibel requirements for things like a power plant? So that it's
They're not terribly noisy. They're not super noisy. They're pretty well engineered to, you know, and it's like they buried a huge tank of gasoline for the generator should the power go out. And this baby's huge. It's very compressive. But no, they're not, I think they're fairly well built. The noise while building is more of an issue than once it's. So there are issues with shade and there's issues with shadows and all kinds of stuff. Could they do 3 6-story buildings or would they rather do 1 12-story? No, that's what we're working towards. And the meetings are at the hospital once a month. That last one had quite a few neighbors from Stendhal actually voicing their concerns. And the next thing is EIS scoping. Okay.
I don't have very much information about about scoping. They really haven't told us anything yet.
No,
What
But,
is
um,
EIS?
Environmental impact.
Thank you.
Yeah, so they're gonna look at like the impact of the old growth trees. Right now, they'd like to change the setbacks on especially on the north side of the property. Right now, the setback's at 120 feet, which is like unheard of today. So we're not gonna get that, but they really want to change it to either 30 or 20 feet. But there's a lot of old growth
And they want to keep the trees.
So they'll be looking at things like that and of course the power plant and
More
and
parking,
the impacts of parking garages,
some may be underground.
yeah.
So
But
what,
it's gonna be a lot, I mean, it's gonna be a lot.
And the proton therapy and the McMurray, is that the one? Those are leased properties. So they're not going anywhere. They couldn't put something there because there's already something there and they spent millions and millions on the proton, so that's not going anywhere.
so do we have any updates on the proposed 120th Street exit?
Oh, entrance?
Yes,
We
entrance exit?
We were pretty clear we
hospital?
don't want one, but.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Yes, a lot of people have voiced.
how much power we have is again, is very question.
I read through and it did say in the project that it was going to be a gated entrance.
Gonna be what?
It's
That's
gonna
what
be
I
a-
read-
it's
that's
gonna
what I
be a
read in
second entrance. And they'll either put it on 115th. Well, right now they have 2 entrances on 115th. One is public access and one is staff access.
Right.
They want to have an additional public access entrance. So it will either be an additional one on 115th, right, probably east of the parking garage and go along that road there. Or, and then they would actually do a loop through the whole facility for metros and such.
Mhm.
Or they would have them come in on 120.
They used to be on 100.
But 120 is, it would be a big deal because it's such a walking community there. So many
Yeah,
people.
but
It's
it
like a
was-
5-block dead end.
Way back. Yeah, way back.
Well, wait, right. Some of us have been here.
Way.
I was born there.
So they're not, it's not something they're pressing to right away.
No, no, and this is all in 20-year plan. We may not see any construction for 10 years. You know, on the main portion.
Yeah, my sense is they're gonna be ready to go as soon as tomorrow.
But they have funding too.
Yeah.
I think they have, that was my understanding, but anyway, but it won't, nothing will happen for the next year and a half.
Right, no, I don't think so. And they're more paying Brady Johansson and BBJ is the design firm, the architectural firm that's doing this. And they're the ones that actually will come and talk to us at our meeting in the fall.
Sean, I think I heard you say something about 10 years. Will you repeat
Well,
that?
no, I said it's possible that we won't see anything for 10 years.
It's possible.
It's
that we
possible. I mean,
won't see
some of us
anything
may be
for 10 years,
dead.
But don't hold your breath.
Well, yeah, or we'll, you know. But it's. They've got a plan.
I wonder if it'd be something where, the club organizing a petition against the entrance within the community and.
You know, honestly, my impression is they don't really care particularly. They're gonna do what works best for them.
But I mean, they would have to do a fair amount of changing to make 120th work traffic flow wise. So I actually would be surprised if they end up doing it. I think that they have to have more than one option studied.
Right.
So my guess is that it would be much easier for them to stay on the arterial of 115 than to switch 120th to an arterial. I mean, that would be a big difference.
We're talking about doing improvements to 120th
Right.
along with is it a sidewalk?
They're doing a sidewalk and
Sooner,
trees
sooner
all
than
the
later?
summer
All this summer.
on the hospital side of North 120. So it'll be amazing, actually. They're gonna have trees on the roadside and then a sidewalk between the fence and the trees.
So we wouldn't have cars.
Oh, no,
Oh, yeah, they
parking
will.
well, there'll still be cars. I thought they were gonna take away parking, but they said they're gonna do both, so I'm not sure. I can't see how they're gonna pull that off, but that's what they said they're planning. So I don't know if they're gonna narrow the road.
That's down by Stendhal.
Yeah, they're down to-
I would take out all those trees.
Right. And they
Oh,
really want to preserve the big trees, they say.
But unless they brought the sidewalk back.
Yeah, those ones are gonna keep it. They're gonna have it down by the road, and then right after those 10 trees, then it will actually go in by the fence. And then the trees will be on the roadside. But there's gonna be benches and possibly native shrubs, so it should be actually really neat add to the.
And that'll be the first thing. That's this summer.
Yeah, that's separate from that
Right.
plan. That's actually part of the last concept plan. So they're just finishing that.
They do these plans, they have to do the plan for the next 20 years, so that's what we're doing now. And then that's the plan, and then 20 years from now, they start over again.
So what's the process of approvals that they have to get? Like, when do they get approval for potentially putting in 120th versus actually doing the work? Like, when do they?
My understanding, they have to first go through the city for zoning approval.
Mhm.
So that'll be like setbacks, heights, entrances, metro loop, such like that. Then they'll go through environmental approvals. And after those and all that information, then it finally go to city council for final approval.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's a year and a half. from now on. That's their goal. They do it. Yeah, a year or so.
So, yeah, master plan, major institution master plan is what it is. So,
Okay,
all right.
that about it then?
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Right.
Okay. Very proud of this here. I just want to promote real quickly,
Hey, ready? Can you put that in front of the camera, please?
I can put it wherever you.
Please.
think is best. Where do you want it?
You could just
Is this good?
put it on front of the,
In here?
yeah, right there. Thank you.
It's a film poster where my son's film, my son is named Lee Parkness. And he's, I don't know what, 43, I think now. Lived here in Seattle for a time. and he lives in Portland now. And he made it his mission to make a film about his two younger half brothers. Reed is from my first marriage. The younger ones are from my second. And I always stayed here. I was grounded here, Howler Lake. Yeah. And I still puzzles me, but this half older brother really did connect with the younger guys when they were young. He connected with the younger brothers, even though they were halves. And they really did bond. And when they were young, they had as much fun as monkeys in a barrel, or whatever that expression is. They made film. Now, the oldest boy loved what's called Super 8 filmmaking. Some of the older people here would remember that. Super 8. And he brought this back. He did, and he made all kinds of vignette, rather funny, silly, soupy films with his younger brothers and neighbor kids and so forth. Well, he called these films together, and at a certain point later on, and I'm into my second divorce now, and the younger two kids are growing and going to local schools here. My oldest comes back and continues to film both of the boys. And then Joyce is her name. This is my second one. She disappears off the face of the earth. She's with her third husband in Seattle, and then she disappears, poof. And my kids are in high school. And they were very trying times, very trying at that point, raising these kids, and I'm a teacher and so on and so forth. And so here's Reed coming around again, and he at this point, he decides he's gonna make a film now. And the film is going to be called Sam Now. That's my youngest son. By the way, three photos of my son, Sam. Same kid.
Well, that's the one kid.
Same kid. Yeah. And at a certain point, Reed says to his youngest half brother, Sam, he says, I have an idea. I think I know where your mom is. Let's go on a road trip. And they do.
Don't give it away now.
I think that's enough. I think that's probably enough
Sweet.
for you. It's on PBS on Monday. Yeah.
Are you sure Reed's not a little older than that? Because Bryce 25. So here was born.
1 second, just say, hold it.
78.
Think that's the thing. Morning 78.
So he's 45.
Okay. I'll take that. I'll take that.
He's the same age as my oldest son. That's why I'm going there. Because they're the same age.
They are the same age. Yeah. Anyway, it took my son 25 years to put this film together. Yeah, and it's pretty silly at times, and it's endearing. It is sad. I will also say that just to pique your interest, that Joyce is interviewed at several points in the film, and Doris Harkness is also in it. As
What
well.
about Randy?
Me. Oh yeah. Yeah. So that's it. I hope that you'll take something away from it. I think it's that kind of film. Yes, Madam President. Could we?
Here.
We could.
I didn't know what distribution rights and things were.
I gotta work with that.
That would be awesome. We could-
I have to work.
Movie night.
That would be cool.
I'm- Yeah, you like that idea? Yeah, and if you could.
How long a movie is it? 90 minutes. Okay.
It's 90 minutes. So on at 10 o'clock,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, we should try to arrange a showing everywhere.
What's the lowest age range you think is good? Okay.
I was thinking, what is it?
It's great.
I just talked about this.
Is it KG?
What it says up there. I'd say 11, 10, 10, 11, 9, 10, 11, something like that.
Yeah.
There's no foul language that I'm aware of. No nudity, I'm sure of that. No, wait a minute, there's 1 feet of me.
Thanks for confirming my fears.
Okay, that's about the film. Do you have a question?
I just want to say that I actually talked to 2 people in the community today who went and saw the last showing that was here in Seattle last week. And they just raved about it, like they just couldn't stop.
Got really good reviews. It won,
Amazing reviews. That's
Yeah.
one.
it won the Vienna Film Festival Best Picture. Vienna was in shown in Vienna, yeah, and it got a lot of other awards at other film festivals, and yeah, I think.
What is it?
I think that my son might be able to take off from.
What does it do for an encore when he's got 25 years? That's kind of tough.
Yeah.
The sequel. Yeah.
All I can think of is that, anyway, he's got some feelers from some, different companies.
Good.
Oh, that's good, real good. Yeah.
Great.
So that's about it.
Very nice.
Sam now, and, again, PBS, Monday night at 10 o'clock.
Nice.
And thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
We got her done.
Yeah. I don't know what AJ had on.